Pushy People number 4. My cousin abandoned her 4 kids on our doorstep so she could go on a cruise. Now her entire life is falling apart. A few hours ago, someone left 4 children on our front porch. My girlfriend and I don't have kids, so as my cousin loves to joke, we've got way too much free time. She, on the other hand, has 4 young children. A little while ago, she laughed and said she was thinking about dropping all 4 of them off at our place so we could watch them while she went on a cruise with her new boyfriend. We didn't take it seriously. It sounded way too ridiculous to be real. We laughed, she laughed, and that was the end of it, or so we thought. Today was a holiday, so neither of us had to work. Around 7 o'clock in the morning, someone knocked on the door. That alone was strange. The mail doesn't come that early, and we weren't expecting anyone. I opened the door, and there they were, all 4 of my cousin's kids, standing outside in the freezing cold. No jackets, no bags, no mother. I brought them inside immediately because they were shivering. I asked where their mom was. One of them answered, "She said you're going to take care of us while she's on her cruise, so we got on the bus and came here." I honestly couldn't believe what I was hearing. My first thought was, what the hell? I called my cousin immediately. Her phone was turned off. I called her boyfriend, straight to voicemail. Then I asked the kids to repeat exactly what their mom had told them. Word for word, they said, "Mom told us you don't have any responsibilities, you have lots of free time, and you already agreed to look after us while she's out of town." So, what exactly was I supposed to do? I called my aunt, my cousin's mother. She told me the exact same thing. Apparently, my cousin had told her that I had already agreed to babysit. She didn't even bother bringing the kids herself. She simply put 4 children on a bus, alone, on a freezing winter morning. At that point, I honestly started thinking I should call Child Protective Services. Update. Something unexpected just happened. The police and Child Protective Services have arrived at my house. The strange part, I didn't call either of them. I'll update everyone as soon as I know what's going on. Update 2. A few hours have passed, and here's what happened. We still had no idea what to do. We made the kids breakfast, turned on the heater, and tried to make them comfortable. There was still no sign of their mother or her boyfriend. Every time we called, it went straight to voicemail. Around 10:30 that morning, I got a call from an unknown number. It was the police. The officer asked, "Do you currently have 4 children at your house?" I said yes and explained everything. That's when I learned something I never expected. The bus driver had called the police. During the ride, the children told him they were visiting relatives and even gave him our address. He thought it was incredibly strange that 4 young kids were traveling alone, without coats, without luggage, in the middle of winter. After dropping them off, he contacted the police to make sure they were safe. Not long afterward, officers and Child Protective Services arrived at our house. To be honest, they were all incredibly professional, friendly, calm. But it was obvious they were taking the situation very seriously. I explained everything. I even showed them the old messages where my cousin had joked about leaving us with the kids. There was never any agreement, no warning, nothing. The children confirmed that their mother had told them we'd be happy to watch them because we had plenty of free time. About an hour and a half later, the police found her. She was already on board a cruise ship that was scheduled to leave at 3:30 that afternoon. She was fully dressed for vacation, ready to sail away with her new boyfriend. The officers boarded the ship, removed her before departure, and ordered her to return immediately. When she arrived at our house, she looked completely unbothered. She still had sunglasses on her head, cruise badge around her neck. She didn't even look at her children. The first thing she said was, "Are you seriously telling me you got the police involved?" I replied, "You dumped 4 children at our house without warning, without clothes, and made yourself impossible to reach." She exploded, started screaming that I'd humiliated her and ruined her vacation. A little later, my aunt called. Instead of asking whether the kids were okay, she yelled at me. Apparently, she had paid for the cruise as a gift for her daughter, and according to her, I'd wasted all that money. Nobody seemed to care about the children. Meanwhile, Child Protective Services took my statement and informed my cousin that they were opening an official investigation for child neglect. She couldn't have cared less. She grabbed the kids, didn't say thank you, didn't apologize. She just walked away as if all of this was somehow my fault. Later, I tried calling both her and my aunt to explain that I hadn't called the police or Child Protective Services. Neither of them believed me. Instead, they blocked my number. Update 3. I honestly didn't expect to write another update, but things somehow got even worse. A couple of days after my cousin was forced off the cruise ship, Child Protective Services contacted me again with a few follow-up questions. During the conversation, they mentioned something surprising. They had contacted the children's biological father and told him what had happened. I honestly thought he'd moved away years ago. As far as I knew, he had relocated to a rural area in New South Wales, somewhere near Wagga Wagga. It turns out he'd been paying child support this entire time and constantly trying to stay involved in his children's lives. My cousin made that almost impossible. She ignored his calls, blocked him, canceled visits, anything she could do to keep him away. When he learned that she'd put the kids on a bus alone in the middle of winter and abandoned them at our house, he was furious. That very night, he got in his car and drove straight to Sydney. The next morning, he came to our house. He was honestly a really decent guy, clearly devastated, but calm. He said he just wanted to hear the story from the people who had actually been there. We sat down and talked for quite a while. He asked how the kids were, what they'd said, exactly what had happened. It was obvious he genuinely cared about them. Then he told me something important. He was filing for full custody. He explained that he'd spent years collecting evidence, every canceled visitation, every excuse, every strange change in the children's behavior after returning from their mother's house. This incident was simply the final straw. He said, "I'm not going to let my kids grow up believing this kind of behavior is normal." I told him I completely supported him. Those children deserved stability. Before leaving, he thanked us for taking care of them when no one else would. Then he headed straight to his lawyer. But that's not the end of the story. Last night, someone vandalized our car. All 4 tires had been slashed. Nothing else was touched, just the tires. We discovered it the next morning when my girlfriend was leaving for work. There wasn't a note, no witnesses. Unfortunately, we don't have security cameras. We've asked our neighbors to check theirs. I can't prove who did it, but considering everything that's happened, I definitely have my suspicions, especially after another relative called yesterday and accused us of turning the entire family against my cousin. We reported the vandalism to the police just to be safe. Honestly, we're exhausted. We never wanted any of this. We simply tried to do the right thing when 4 freezing children showed up at our door. Most of my family believes my cousin's version of events. At this point, I'm seriously considering posting the entire story on Facebook, along with every message and every fact, just so people know what actually happened, because this situation is becoming far more serious than any of us expected. Final update. Everything escalated again. Yesterday evening, around 7:30, someone knocked on our door. My girlfriend answered and immediately froze. Standing outside was my cousin's oldest son. He's 11 years old. He was completely alone. It was already dark. He had a small school backpack, no jacket, no phone. The only thing he said was, "Mom told me I should stay here for a while." We were stunned. We asked where his brothers and sisters were. He said, "They're still with Mom and her boyfriend." Then he quietly added, "I didn't want to stay there anymore." We asked why his mother had let him leave. He replied, "She said if I didn't like it there, I could leave." So, he did. We immediately brought him inside, made him a hot dinner, and called the police. This time they arrived very quickly, along with Child Protective Services. Because of everything that had already happened with the cruise incident, nobody took this lightly. The boy told them some heartbreaking things. He said his mother had spent the entire day screaming and locked herself in her bedroom while no one watched the children. Then he said something that broke my heart. He remembered how safe he had felt at our house, so he came back. Soon afterward, police and Child Protective Services went to my cousin's home. Later, they told us the other children had been removed from the house. My cousin was taken in for questioning. An official child neglect investigation is now underway. According to the officers, ever since the cruise incident, she'd been losing control more and more. The next morning, my aunt showed up at our house furious. She screamed that I'd destroyed the family, turned the children against their mother, even accused me of stealing her grandchildren. Then she actually said something I'll never forget. She was happier than she'd been in years when she found out she was going on that cruise. "And you ruined everything because you hate children." We simply closed the door and reported the incident to the authorities. The police advised us to document every interaction and said that if the harassment continues, we may be able to apply for a restraining order. Later that afternoon, I received a call from the biological father's lawyer. He's officially filing for full custody. The lawyer asked whether I'd be willing to provide a written statement describing everything that happened, what the children said, what condition they were in, and how we became involved in all of this. I agreed immediately. I never wanted to be part of this story, but if my testimony helps those children grow up somewhere safe, I'm all in. And then came the moment I'll never forget. Just before Child Protective Services took the oldest boy with them, he hugged my girlfriend and quietly said, "You're the only people who ever made me feel safe." That nearly brought me to tears. We're doing our best to emotionally distance ourselves from everything that's happened, but we'll continue cooperating with the investigation however we can. This experience taught us something important. Doing the right thing is often incredibly difficult, but not for a single second have we regretted opening that door. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next episode. If you have any thoughts about what happened, let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear what you think. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next story.